Hello and welcome to the channel. This is Mish, and I'm an idiot who burned my Aputure 80C by connecting a V-mount battery with the wrong polarity. I know, there's no excuse, you always have to double check how you're connecting your power. In this case, however, something went wrong. This was one of those older V-mount batteries with a worn-out connector that can accept a D-tapped connector in either orientation. So two things happened. First, the fixture shut off immediately and stopped responding to its regular power supply. Second, the V-mount battery went into protection mode and stopped working too. When polarity is reversed, the battery's protection circuit detects a fault and shuts the battery output down. However, the fixture still worked perfectly through USB-C power, which was a good sign, and to re-enable the battery, you need to connect it to a charging station for a reset. With all that out of the way, let's get to the repair.
Hello, Vava here. And thankfully some things are easier to repair than a broken arm. So let's start fixing the fixture. I'll begin by removing the yoke so it's out of the way. I'll remove the cap as well. And connect USB-C power to the fixture to demonstrate. Turn it on, and it works. This is a good sign. It means the control board is still alive, and the only thing damaged is the DC power circuitry, which is exactly what we are going to fix. We'll need a multi-tool, some precision screwdrivers and spare parts, which we'll talk about later. So let's start disassembly by removing the back cover. It's held in place by 4 screws, 2 here and 2 underneath the sticker. We'll also remove the DC port for easier access. Carefully remove the sticker and these screws as well. After that, use a multi-tool to detach the DC barrel connector like this. Now we can pull off the back cover, push the DC barrel inside and reveal the control board. Here it is. Now we'll remove the DC connector completely by unscrewing these 2 bolts, like so. Also remove the air vent because it blocks access a bit. So this is DC power circuitry, and here is our main suspect, this little protection diode right here. SMAJ 26A. Its job is to protect the fixture from wrong polarity, exactly like what happened here. We can use a multimeter to check it. Normally, this diode should not show continuity in this situation. Now, the proper way to test diodes like this is to unsolder at least one side and lift it off the board. That way we isolate it. Because if you test it while it's still soldered in place, you might get a reading coming from another part of the circuit. Once one side is lifted, we are testing only the diode itself. And as you can see, we do get continuity, which means it's faulty. So let's remove it completely. And here it is, SMAJ 26A. Here's the replacement part. The price of this thing is almost zero, and it's relatively easy to find. Any local electronics store should have a stock of these. The new one has slightly different markings, but that doesn't matter. What does matter is the direction. You can see these 3 lines that indicate polarity. The diode lets the power flow in one direction and not the opposite. Its purpose is to basically sacrifice itself if power is connected the wrong way, protecting the rest of the control board. So let's install the new one. The board also has marking for orientation, so it needs to match the diode's stripes. A good method for soldering small components like this is to first apply solder to just one pad, then attach the diode to that side and then solder the other side. So I'm pushing the diode against the board, heating up the solder, and it sticks. And then you can solder the other end normally. It's always a good idea to use alcohol pads after soldering microelectronics. Now, before assembling everything back together, let's do a quick test. And yes, we are carefully checking polarity this time. Plug it into the DC port. And the light turns on, so the repair worked. That diode really was the problem. Now we can reassemble everything in reverse, starting with the air vent. Then feed the DC barrel back into its socket. Don't forget the USB-C flap. And finally reinstall all the screws holding the back cover in place. And don't forget the Blair flap. So that's it. The light is fixed and back in action. And now a quick warning. If you are unsure what you are doing, it's probably better to take it to a local repair shop. We contacted Aputure immediately after this happened, and they did respond and seemed ready to help, possibly with the spare parts. But this light was rented out and working on a TV series, so we couldn't afford the downtime of waiting for parts to ship. So we went with DIY route. But if you make a mistake during this process, you can make things worse and potentially fry the entire control board. And that will be much more expensive than this diode, which basically costs nothing. So please be careful, don't attempt repairs you are not confident about. And for proper diagnostics, it's worth educating yourself about finding short circuits and troubleshooting power boards. This video was just about fixing this specific light in this specific situation. So yeah, keep your light safe, always check polarity, like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye!